if the following phone numbers, right now in attendance, I have Sherry Leffler, Nicholas Hartman, Tracy Beaver, John Fow. Board members, I have Francis Pites, Craig Westover, John Bruno, Judge Berletic. I also have Mike Marcantino, who is with IUP. I have Dee Biter, who is with Temple University. And then I have, it looks like two other individuals. I'm not sure. We have Deborah Sandiford, who is Chief Counsel at PCCD. Sally Berry, Office Director of the Office of Justice Programs. Beth Romero, PCCD Fiscal Staff. Mike Pennington, PCCD Executive Director. Yvonne Murray, PCCD Fiscal Staff. Are there any other guests who are admitted into the meeting that I have not identified? Could you please state your name, full name, certification number, and the county?
Yes, good morning, Sherry. This is Tony Luongo from Temple University.
Thank you, Tony.
Constable Ron Quinn, Center County, Bravo 003434.
Thank you, Constable Quinn. Any others? Okay, hearing none. I've identified all the attendees for the meeting, and that will be used for the official sign-in roster for this board meeting. I will control the flow of this meeting, and I'll introduce each action item, discussion item, and informational item prior to the board's discussion. Please remember on these remote calls to keep your microphones muted unless you are speaking. Also, make sure that you are speaking loudly and clearly during the meeting so that we can get a good transcription then for the official board meeting minutes then. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and start with the board meeting. The first order of business is the normal election of officers, and we have decided to hold off on this because we did not have a quorum at the February meeting. So we have decided to delay this election of officers until our August 13th meeting. And we want to make sure that we're able to get through all of the action items that we have currently for this meeting. Okay, first of all, I'd like to do some introductions. I did go through the roster. If anyone else joins the meeting, I will ask them to identify themselves. First, I'd like to introduce the program has a new staff member. Nicholas Hartman transferred to the program from the Office of Victim Services on March 30th. And he and I have been training, I've been training him remotely on the various aspects of the program and its operations. Nick has over 14 years of experience in victim services, training, and also curriculum development. Please join me in welcoming Nick to the program.
Welcome, Nick.
We do have a quorum of board members to conduct business as usual for this meeting. Those board members are Judge Thomas Berletic, Allegheny County, Constable John Bruno, who is the board chair, Constable Bud Pites, who is the vice chair of the board. John Bruno is Dauphin County, Bud Pites is Allegheny County, and also Constable Craig Westover from Venango County. So we do have a quorum, and we will go ahead and proceed with the action items. Prior to that, I would like to just go over how we are going to coordinate the voting for all of the action items. I will first ask if there's any discussion amongst the board members by name, and then I will ask if PCCD staff have any discussion for each of the action items. If there is no discussion, I will then ask for a motion to approve that action item, and then I will also ask for a second for that motion. Please state your name, and this is for the board members, please state your name when making the motion, and also when any seconds for any of the motions, please state your name. So for example, if Constable Bruno makes a motion to approve, I would ask that Constable Bruno say Constable Bruno. I make the motion to approve that action item. We will not be doing any roll call votes for any of the action items, but if you are recusing yourself or abstaining from the vote, I will need you to state your name and whether or not you're recusing or abstaining from that vote. So hearing no issues on that, I'm going to go ahead and move forth with the first action item. The first action item that we have on the agenda is the unapproved draft minutes of the November 7th, 2019 meeting. Is there any discussion for this action item? Judge Bruno, or Judge Berletic, I'm sorry. Constable Bruno?
Good.
Constable Pites? Constable Westover? And is there any PCCD staff that have any discussion that they would like to bring forth for the draft minutes of the November 7th, 2019 meeting? Hearing none, I am going to ask for a motion to approve the draft minutes of November 7th, 2019 meeting.
John Bruno, I'll put forth that motion.
Craig Westover will second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 I need to hear two more ayes.
Judge, you out there? They might
Constable-
be still on mute.
Yeah, Constable Pites, can you hear me? Okay, I just to go back to this, I heard an aye from, was that Judge Berletic?
Sure, I wonder if they're on mute and don't realize it.
Yeah, no, I have everyone all unmuted.
Okay. Did we lose him? You there,
Judge-
Craig, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You hear me, John?
Yep.
Yeah, is that you, Bud?
This is me, Bud Bites.
Hey, kid, where were you at? What'd you do, go to sleep?
Oh, come on, John.
All right, we need you to say aye.
Aye.
Judge,
Judge Berletic? I think we may have lost the judge.
do you have his phone number? Do you have another phone there, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, please bear with me here for a second, everyone. I'm going to mute my mic and make a phone call.
Okay.
Not a problem. Bud,
Yes, sir.
Craig,
Yes, John.
how are you?
Great.
Ay. Hopefully in August, we can get back to maybe even opening up and, having this back in the conference room here. I don't see why we can't do that if they want to quote unquote social distance. There's plenty of room for that.
Yeah, I would agree.
Hey, this is Constable Quinn. This would probably go better and stuff if rather than having people direct to call in off their phones, which allows for a lot of interruptions with other phone calls and stuff. They would just go to their laptops or desktop computers. Of course, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, unfortunately, we do not have a quorum for the meeting. I had erroneously thought that Judge Berletic was on the line, and it doesn't appear that he is at this point in time, so we do not have a quorum for this meeting, so we will not be able to take any action on any of the action items that are being presented. I am going to go ahead.
Do we know where it might be, Sherry?
He said that he was available today, and he was on a call with Craig Westover and I last week, and everything was. I know that he is working the midnight shift. He's working as a judge, so I don't know. I don't know. So we're just going to go ahead and move forward.
Did you try calling him?
I did.
No answer.
No answer.
Greg, you got another number for him?
I do not.
This is John Fowl. While we can't move forward with any action items, I will go ahead with an informational item to discuss with the board or to let you know. Back in February, we received official notification from Penn State Fayette that they would no longer be able to meet the requirements of either the training contract or the curriculum development contract. So we had to go through that process of closing that contract out. Staff, we're going to be working with our remaining 2 contractors to see what the training year for 2021 is going to look like and how we're going to do that. We're also, once we get to a point where staff can get out to Penn State, we have a lot of training equipment and training ammunition, et cetera, to recover and then redistribute to the 2 training providers that will be remaining. So I just wanted to put that out. We're still in the process of getting a new curriculum developer in place, and we should have that in the next 2 weeks, a contract in place or so. And then, like I said, training, we're going to divvy up the state between IUP and Temple. So at this point, if any board members have questions, I'll try to answer them.
When it rains, it pours, huh, John?
John's Craig Westover. On the pickup of items out of Penn State, are we just simply waiting for the university to open back up in order to access that? Is that where we're at?
Yeah, basically, we have been in touch with Penn State. They're starting at some point here, probably in July. Their staff will be able to come back on campus, and then also too, we have to coordinate with somebody from IUP and somebody from Temple. 1 or 2 of the staff from PCCD will be out there. It's a lot of equipment. We want to go through it, make sure we get all the equipment, that it's all in good order. There's a lot of ammunition out there. We need to do that inventory and, change that equipment out to the other contractors. So right now we're just waiting for the go ahead from Penn State.
Are you basically looking at getting like a moving truck or something? Are you talking that much equipment?
Yeah. So what'll happen is both Temple and IUP will have to, rent a U-Haul or whatever, because as we divvy up equipment, there's laser shot units, there's ammunition, there's all the DT stuff. So it's a lot of equipment. We're going to have to spend a day out there going through it all and divvying it up among the 2 remaining training providers.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for John?
No.
Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and move forth to the discussion item that was included in the packet. Nick, if you could cursor down to page 36 on the packet, and we'll just discuss that. This is in relation to the 2019 expired firearms certifications. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, all remaining 2020 annual firearms qualification training classes have been canceled. As of May 18th of 2020, there are currently 36 constables and deputy constables whose firearms certifications expired on or before December 31st of 2019. Title 44, Section 7148, use of firearms states, the Constable's Education and Training Board, with the review and approval of the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, shall establish standards for the certification or qualification of constables and deputy constables to carry or use firearms in the performance of any duties. Program staff are recommending that a limited number of annual firearms qualification classes be scheduled for only those constables and deputies constables whose firearms certification expired in 2019. The basic firearms training class scheduled for April 17th to the 26th had 20 paid enrollments, and program staff are now currently working with IUP to reschedule this class for July of 2020. The original paperwork that was sent out had the fall of 2020, but we are actually in communication with Mike Marcantino from IUP. We should be able to get everything scheduled and up and running in July of this year. Staff are currently working on developing protocols to keep instructors and the constable population safe while in the training environment. Program staff will keep the board updated as these limited number of firearms qualification classes are scheduled. So basically what we were looking at is scheduling an annual firearms class in the east, one in the central, and one in the west, so that we can get these individuals into a class this year to get their certification reinstated for 2020. And then we did have an action item that we were requesting the board to extend certifications, but we can't take action on that at this time. So we'll have to come back and revisit that at our August meeting then. Is there any discussion or comments or concerns with this discussion item? Okay, hearing none, I am going to move forward to the informational items, and I'm going to ask Ms. Tracy Beaver to provide these reports on the training, online training update, and the status of certifications.
Good morning, everyone. If you can't hear me, let me know. As Sherry said, I'm doing the informational item. The first one is the online training update. And the first stats are for the Keystone login migration. There were 1,028 constables who had successful migration from the old PA login system to the new Keystone login. And there are a total of 1,196 total active constables and deputy constables. And as of date, we have 0 unresolved migration issues with Keystone login. With the Canvas activation, there are a total of 1,196 total number of enrollments. There are 576 constables, deputy constables who have started the online training, and out of those, 270 have completed the online subjects, and that is the 4-hour module. The next informational item is the status of certifications. As of May 20th, 2020, there were 992 constables and deputy constables currently listed as active and certified. That means that they have completed the training, met the training requirements, have a valid term of office, and have also kept their liability insurance up to date. Of those, 780, or 79%, were also certified with the firearms to carry those in performance of their constable duties. And since the inception of the constable training program in 1996, there have been a total of 4,633 individuals who have successfully completed the basic training or the waiver examination and have been certified by the board.
Thank you for that, Tracy. Are there
Trace,
any
on what
questions on
page
the
can we-
informational items? Go ahead, John.
On what pages in the packet can we find that information?
It's on pages 37 and 38.
Oh, right afterward. Okay, then.
Yep,
Thank
at the
you.
very end of the packet. Yep.
Sherry, it's Craig Westover. My question for Tracy is on the amount of people that have completed the online versus the ones that have started. So, there's quite a number there, a couple hundred people anyhow. Do we know, are we able to look to see where they're at online? Did they just log into it and looked at it, or have they actually did part of it? Do we know, can we tell that from the system or not?
Hey, Craig, this is John Fowl. Right now, staff cannot, we can query Temple and say, hey, can you look at Craig Westover and tell me where he is on the online? As we integrate these systems, which we've been working on, eventually we can get to that point where a staff member can query through sets and it'll hit the Temple system and we can get kind of a status or progress where that person is. They're enrolled and what they've done. Right now we have to ask Temple for that individual and they can look at the data and get back to us with an answer.
Yeah, I'm just concerned, John. I mean, I'm looking at total number of enrollments, 1196, 576 started and only 270, so there's such a number difference there. I'm just trying to figure out what's the holdup. I mean, here we are sitting at the end of June and, they've got till, what's that drop dead date, December 4th?
December 4th, correct.
December 4th. So, I guess I'm wondering what the holdup is here, getting that 4 hours knocked out.
Well, Craig, I will say this, and deputy sheriffs moved to online Con Ed this year as well. They have roughly 2,300 deputies statewide. And at this point, they have about 1,400 deputies who have completed their online training. However, what we've been hearing from the sheriff's office is while everybody was in lockdown and a lot of deputies weren't working, the sheriffs told them, you will get this done. So, and I'll be honest with you, Craig, I think it kind of follows the classroom pattern we've seen. There's always a group of guys, they go to the first firearms, the first Con Ed, they get their training out of the way. And then come August, September, October, there's this big rush to, do Con Ed or firearms. So I think it's going to pick up come August.
Okay. Well, I guess there's something we'll have to watch. I mean, if in August we're not seeing much better, I don't know whether to send out, a bulletin saying, look, you guys, we need to see some engagement here and getting this stuff knocked out or whatever, because I really don't think it's fair on you folks if everybody waits till the 1st of December to go ahead and try to knock this stuff out. This is the thing. Yeah, and then you're barraged at the end of the year, with getting everybody's paperwork, put through.
No, Craig, we will keep tracking that and we'll send out notifications, hey, you have 90 days left, you have 60 days left. We've talked about that internally.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have been putting out multiple reminders and training bulletins. That I am of the same mindset. That scares me. I don't want to see us, handling 500 grades the last week or the first week in December, trying to get everybody's certification reinstated for next year then. So.
Yeah, it's not fair to you guys, and I think that's what, if nothing else in the bulletin, look, you need to look at our end of it, get this stuff done so that we're not, you're not in a position where your paperwork may not get done, because if we have, too much to get inputted into the system, you may not be ready to go by the first of the year. So.
Yep, this is true. Okay, no other questions on the informational items. I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the public voice session. I am going to ask first the contractors, Mike Marcantino from IUP, do you have any comments that you would like to make to the board?
No, I do not. Thank you, Sherry.
Yep. Tony, do you have anything that you would like to address with the board?
Not at this time, but thank you for asking, Sherry.
Yep, not a problem. Then I'm going to ask, we did ask for anyone who wanted to speak during public voice to let Tracy Beaver know prior to the meeting, and I'm going to ask Tracy to go ahead and announce those individuals' names. And if they are on the line, they can go ahead and make comments. I do ask that you keep your comments to about a 2-minute minimum. And again, please make sure that you are speaking loudly and clearly so that we can, properly do the transcription then for the meeting minutes. Tracy, do you want to go ahead and start naming the individuals who had requested to comment?
Sorry, I had to find my unmute button. The first one that we had was Michael Hall, who I do not know. I don't believe he is on the call.
I'm seeing a couple anonymous numbers. Not sure who they are. I think one of them I thought was actually Judge Berletic, but apparently it's not. Michael Hall, are you available to make public comment? Okay, go ahead and move to the next name, Tracy.
Okay. Sorry. The next one, my computer's not working right now. Give me 1 second here. Charles DeMarco.
Do we have a Charles DeMarco on the line? Okay, not hearing him on the line. Let's go ahead and move to the next individual.
Okay, the last one that I had received was Constable Ron Quinn.
And Ron, you are on the line, correct?
Right here.
Okay, go ahead and please try to keep if you would just state your full name, your constable certification number and county, and then just try to keep your comments to 2 minutes or less for us. I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Constable Ron Quinn, Center County, certification Bravo 003434. I sent in a list of questions there. I'll just kind of go down them and let them be answered point by point. Because I was going through the packet that you sent, and that's what kind of generated a lot of these questions. First one is, how can the board enforce a policy of receiving funds from constables that do not work for the courts, but rather want to work for the courts, but are declined court work with no justification?
Sherry, this is John Fowle. I'll answer that. And again, Ron, I'm not sure what you mean receiving funds from constables who not working for the court. Whether or not a constable works for the court, that's outside of the board's purview. That's between a constable and an MDJ or any judge. We can't control the workload in any county. True,
but in the same light, from where I extrapolated this question from and stuff, it was basically based on the suggestion, I guess, or the policy move toward charging constables that don't do any court work as far for like where CETA funds can be extrapolated. But there's a lot of constables out there that want to do work for the courts where those CETA funds can be gotten, but they're not doing that. And if you go down and you look at constables and say, well, they only work, they've only they haven't done any court work, but are receiving training. It's not so much a fact that they don't want to work for the courts and contribute to the training, but the courts aren't letting them.
And again, Ron, I can't control what the courts, who they give work to. Right now, the only constables who pay anything for training is if they're have failed, typically firearms, and they need to retake. And that policy's been around a long time. And then the board implemented people who are attending basic for the first time, because the board's logic had been that as a new constable, you're not certified, you haven't worked for the court, you haven't generated any of the CETA fees, so you pay for basic and basic firearms. But at this point, those are the only two people who pay. All the rest of the training is provided free, whether you work for the court or not.
And just to clarify, it would be for no-shows as well if someone fails to show and did not properly provide, their attendance information, and we consider them a no-show for the training class, they would also have to pay to attend a subsequent class.
Okay, so we're not pursuing an avenue of trying to recoup CETA funds from constables that aren't doing court work.
I don't know how you would do
Yeah, I'm not sure where you're hearing that from.
That came from one of the things from the I guess the November meeting. But that's no problem. Then I'll move on.
Yeah, that was discussed at one point, and that was a suggestion that had come out of one of the work groups that we had back in 2018. Okay. But at this point in time, there's nothing in place to do anything with that.
Okay. In the board's perception and everything, what constitutes court work? Would court papers that are served by higher courts other than the magistrates, is that considered court work? Particularly if they're coming from like a lawyer's office or whatever, or from someplace out of state. And is there any plans to try to address that to try to attain CETA funds?
And again, Ron, there's a lot of things constables do for the courts in Pennsylvania, whether there are constables who work for Court of Common Pleas, and I think Constable Westover, you do some Court of Common Pleas work. There's a lot of things constables do that they're required to be certified that we do not get a CETA fee on. Prisoner transport is not specifically mentioned. And right. There are also services constables perform that, for whatever reason, an MDJ does not assess the CETA fee. And we have been going over this issue for probably since 2008, trying to look at that collection of fees and who's assessing it. And the board has no authority to implement anything. We can collect data. We can try and see patterns or analysis of the data and talk with AOPC or try and educate judges on a better level as to why that CETA fee is important. But we have no power to force anybody on the CETA fee collection.
Okay. The one thing that I was also going to address was kind of already addressed in the action items or information items, so I'll skip that. There is a statement though that I saw being made from the last meeting and packet and stuff like that, and that is there is federal case law and state statutes that classify constables as law enforcement officers, and we talked about this before when I showed up there. I'm wondering, why is it such a hard concept for the board and staff to accept that constables are law enforcement officers?
No, they are not. They're peace officers.
Well, peace officers are law enforcement officers.
And Ron,
if you look in the definitions of in Title 18 and Title 31, it's all through there and stuff. Plus, there was federal case law that did state that constables are law enforcement officers. They may be peace officers, but they are law enforcement officers.
Ron, this is John Fowle. What federal court case are you talking about?
I want to say it's the.
You can't even quote.
It's one of the ones that with I forget his last name, but Manny.
Manny Rodriguez. That was a New York.
Right. There was a federal case law in that regard as well too.
It was not a federal court. It was a New York State court. So it's a New York State decision.
Yeah. I'd be more than happy to go ahead and look up the case law for you and send it to you for the board to review and stuff. But there are other state statutes that do classify us as law enforcement officers. Even when I went through the academy back in November of 2017, which wasn't that long ago, this was brought up as well and was stipulated that constables are law enforcement officers. So I will go ahead and provide you with that federal case law and get that to you then.
Okay, and Ron, we're going to move on to see if anybody else has public voice comments.
All right, I only got 3 more points, but if nobody else does, then just please come back to me.
Okay, are there any other constables or general public that have called into this call that would like to make a comment to the board and staff during the public voice session? Hearing none.
Can I come back again?
Ron,
Are you?
you're going to have one more question.
Okay. Let's see here. There was a suggestion before, and I was wondering where we're standing with that, as far as in a way to generate more CETA fees, as far as a CETA fee being assigned to all magistrate produced work, civil warrants, that type of thing, landlord tenants. Whereas a CETA fee is automatically added on to that, whether it's issued to a constable or not, much like fees are done with other emergency services and responding agencies and stuff. Has there been any entertainment in that regard?
What I would say to that, Ron, this is John Fow. I've said this to constables for many, many years. Whether or not, first of all, that would take a law change, a legislative change. And, that's up to some of these constable associations. I've said that. If you guys want stuff changed in the legislation, you're the ones who need to talk to your representatives and your legislators and get that done. I know 2 associations have gotten 2 different bills introduced about increasing the surcharge, applying it to a few other services constables do, but that's going to take legislative change, and that's something the board, that's outside of our control. If legislation's introduced and a legislator reaches out to PCCD and says, what do you think of this, or is this a good thing? PCCD, will typically provide feedback and what the impact would be, but we're not in the business of going out and getting legislation passed.
All right. I just thought, since you guys had skin in the game as far as being able to get CETA fees to keep a CETA fund solvent and stuff, that there might be more words that could be placed from your agency to some of the legislative agencies that are almost like across the street next door to you guys.
Constable West there, can I weigh in on this?
I think, hold on, Craig, 1 second, real quick. I think the focus, what we all want to do is right now, discussions I've had with several legislators, is to get that CETA bill fee raised. And that's the important thing, is to get that raised from the $5.
Yeah, but as John Fow pointed out at past meetings too, that even with a CETA fee bill raise and stuff, you may not see any kind of ramifications from that until like 3 years down the road. And here we are losing money in the meantime there, where we may be dissolved as a result for our training purposes.
This is John Fow. And all I'd say, Ron, is, we've been dealing with this issue of surcharge collection ever since this program started. It has gotten better, but then there are different trends. We see the same in deputy sheriff, that when the economy is bad, the courts unfortunately typically have more work. There's more evictions. There's more of those kinds of things. When the economy's good, it goes down. Implementation of technology. When AOPC, now you can go online and pay with a credit card, a lot of the minor costs and fines, and that's work that typically might have gone to a constable. So there's constantly changing variables, and we can't predict what's going to be happening down the road, but getting these things changed, I ultimately say it's back to those constables associations and getting on the same sheet of music. And and that's the one thing we hear back from legislators is, well, there's not one association. And I know in the last year or two, the two major associations have been working together to try and reach the same objective. And so they're getting there. Those bills have been introduced. And the other thing too is right now during this whole period, in a certain way, it's saved us money. Guys aren't going to training. We're not expending those training dollars, but that only buys us a little bit of breathing room. So.
I appreciate
Thank you.
it. Just one last final point. I just want to say I really do agree with. I like this concept with the streaming and stuff like that, and using Skype and stuff. And I hope that when we do go back to things where we can meet together as a board and stuff, that we can also include this technology in it as well and stuff. I think that would be helpful, and I hope more constables will participate this way as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Ron. Constable Westover, did you want to make a comment as well?
Yeah, I do. Can you have Nick bring up page 30 on the screen? That would be the constable fee collections. There we go. So, and specifically, I wanted to direct this to staff because, we're talking about collections where we're at for money. I'm looking at March, so third line down, clear to the right, where we're showing state fiscal year 2019-2020 collections of 259,153. So is that a direct result of the virus where paperwork was shut down and we're not collecting fees at all for a period of 3 months? Is that what we're looking at here?
I don't know if Yvonne can answer that.
At this point, no, John, I cannot answer that. I apologize. I want to say it's a lot of delay in coming in information, but I don't want to state incorrect information. So I can actually look that up for you, Craig, and get that information over to you if you wish.
Yeah, because that's my biggest concern has been with the shutdown. And like I said, I don't know about courts clear across the state, but I know here in the western part of the state, pretty much paper was shut down entirely. So there would have been no new fees generated. And then, of course, the fees that are in the pipeline, we're always talking, we're 18 months out on a lot of this stuff. But I was alarmed by that number, when I went through the paperwork here. And I just, that's directly going to affect our projection going out because as they were talking earlier, when we out of money, 22, 23 is when we drop down below that magic $1 million number. And so, I think it's 859,000 or whatever. But, for all the gains that we've made on training as far as online and trying to have savings, I'm alarmed when I see that because then that tells me, well, are we still going to be stuck in the same position where we're going to run out of money about the same time? Because we really were for a while there last year. We were buying a lot of time out into the future, I thought. Am I correct, John Fowl?
Yeah, this is John. You're correct, Craig. But also, too, what I would say is that I also think there's going to be kind of a surge. There's a lot of court work that's kind of on hold. In fact, I was contacted a couple weeks ago by the guys who oversee judicial security for AOPC, and they were trying to look forward to when the courts start to open back up. Their concern was court security, and they were trying to look at numbers of how many constables are out there and certified, and they were asking, what do we train them on for court security? So they are already looking at the concern of once the courts really start to open back up, their concern is there's going to be this surge, and unfortunately, whatever happens with that hold on evictions, if that ever gets lifted, unfortunately, I think the courts will get real busy. So I agree with you in one sense, there's this stop of the surcharge, but there may be an uptick once things, and who knows when that's going to be though. So.
Well, that's my hope is you're right, because I know landlord tenants out here totally, everything's been stopped. And so other than unsuitable tenants, I mean, everybody else gets to stay there. And That's a problem. Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope we, instead of seeing that 200-some thousand number, we jumped up to 600,000. But I think that page speaks volumes as to where we've been at across the program, starting clear back in 09, 10. Because I'm continually fielding phone calls from constables asking, where's the money gone? Where's the money gone? And it's easy to see and easy to explain that it's the inflation, the cost of training versus our flat line on collections. And these interruptions along the way, like with the virus, up and down. But unfortunately, the flat line is the revenue that's being generated by the constables. And the only way we can shake that, and as Constable Quinn, asked about what other stuff can be assessed, we've looked at all the different jobs the constables have done across this state, and unfortunately, there's a lot on that list that is not included in the legislation originally, which the other intent of the legislation was to train constables for court work. I don't think there's any specific, mindset by us or the board or staff or anybody else about law enforcement versus peace officers. It's that the Act 49 mission was to train constables to perform work for the court, and that's what the mission is. So it isn't that we're against law enforcement interpretations. It's the fact that the mission of 49 was to train officers or constables to do court work. So, I think we just have to be even-minded about this thing when we're looking at it. But the fee collections and our expenditures and the inflation, like I said, I keep fielding these phone calls, and I've got to impress that anybody that's getting those types of questions from their constables, they need to advise them, no, the money hasn't gone anywhere. The money is being eaten up by inflation over the years and a flat line on revenue. And until the legislation's amended to bring more of this into the surcharge part of the game, and also to get an increase, in order to keep up with inflation, this is what we're stuck with. But that's all I have to say on that right now. And I appreciate, Yvonne, if you can, I'd appreciate any updates you can get on that revenue collection for me.
And
Not a problem, sir. I will try to get that for you.
This is John again, just to piggyback on what Constable Westover said. When I've told the board this before, but you go back and you look at one of the first fiscal reports of the program in 1995, revenue was about 1.5. When you look at the revenue that has occurred over the last couple of years, it's been about 1.5, 1.6. There was a high point in the early 2000s where it got up to 1.7, but our costs of training have gone up over the last 25 years. And Craig's right, our revenues have basically stayed the same.
Well, if Nick would just bring up the next page 31, and I think page 31 tells the tale. We're still looking at that 23, 24 years. So the very bottom line, projection, and if we look at 23, 24 across the line, you see where our ending balance is 868,948 is what we're projecting right now. So, and what's troublesome, I think we're still on tap with the comptroller's office. We drop below 1 million. Basically, we're out of money as far as they're concerned. Is that not correct, Mr. Fowl?
Correct.
Okay. So that's the number that we're chasing. That's the number that we need to, we need to fix that situation. And so we just have to, I guess, keep the nose of the grindstone here and see if we can, continue to do things in order to get this revenue up, increased, and keep the training costs down. But yeah, that 868 in 23-24 year, that's the number that troubles me.
Are there any other comments from staff? Okay, I believe that is all that we can actually get accomplished for today because of not having a quorum. So I'm going to go ahead, and if there's no other comments or questions for the board or staff, then I'm going to go ahead and request a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will make the motion.
I will second it.
So that was Constable Bruno with the first and Constable Pites with the second.
That's correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Sherry
our
and John,
next.
great job. Great job. And Tracy, great job.
Thank you. Our next scheduled meeting is August 13th. I am hopeful that we will have a quorum by that time, so that we can get some of these unapproved action items out of the way. Staff will continue to project for next year as the best that we can do, as best we can to continue to have the training delivery contractors moving forward with the plan for next year. And then we will just have to come back and reconvene in August. And again, hopefully at that time, we'll be able to take some action on some of these action items then. Okay, and no other comments, questions, or concerns for the good of the order. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting then. Thank you all for attending today.
Everybody enjoy their summer.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Sherry, you've done a
You too.
fine
Be
job.
safe.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day, everyone.